Hello, hello. Happy Monday, everybody. Tarun here. Another edition of Tarun's Thoughts. It's Monday, which is, for me, Monday's always the hardest day of the week. I think because it's the start of a new week, and I have to tell myself, okay, you're going to start forcing things into existence and start working. You have to be very self-regulating and motivate yourself to do things when you're self-employed. So I hope everyone had a great weekend. My weekend was busy. And definitely hit some, actually it was a good experience. Nothing bad to say. It was actually a great experience. But I did this, of course, everybody here knows that I do stand-up comedy. I've been doing it for 20 plus years. And I started touring as Bobby Khan, the movie character I did 10 years ago. And yes, it sounds insane that I'm even doing Bobby Khan on stage. And I'm even doing it in a web series now as one of the characters. But I think about it, I'm like, well, nobody bought into it 10 years ago. So why am I shoving this character down people's throats now? And I feel like I just believe in it. Sometimes you got to just double down and lean into it. And feel like it'll catch on. Whether in stand-up or something else, I think it'll catch on. And I'm going to keep doing it. So I've been trying to get as much noise and attention to it as possible. And by doing that, getting up on stage, writing new jokes, really making a good act. And it's actually been effective. People have been reaching out to me to do their shows as Bobby Khan. I'm getting now reached out to headline shows, which really never happened to me when I was Tarun. Like, I was a good feature act, which is like the middle act, but Bobby Khan's a killer on stage. Like, I can do any room, anywhere, anytime. In fact, I've been opening up for Darren Carter, who's been godsend, just helping me out. And he does the worst shows sometimes. And I was featuring for him these birthday parties. And they were outdoors. And they weren't even like comedy shows. They were just like, hey, here's like a fiesta carnival. And people are like drunk and there's music and here's a microphone, go do comedy. So Tarun would have died a horrible death, but Bobby Khan can hang in there for 20-something minutes. So I've done a string of those shows, and then I was at the Haha Cafe last week, and it went so well that they want me to come back this week. So, things are happening. So another thing on my radar was, I should start entering these comedy competitions. And basically these competitions are structured for comedians so they can go fly to these usually smaller towns. And these smaller towns are run by club bookers, or I don't know who runs them actually. But for this one I just did was run by bookers, club bookers. And I guess it's a good way to get seen by people. In fact, there's a guy, great comedian named Mitch Hedberg, and he I think won the Seattle comedy competition that put him on the map. It was a string of things but I just remember reading that he just kept winning every competition because this guy was so original, so creative. This is like 20 plus years ago. So it was in the back of my mind to do these competitions. So I'm working with these bookers, or sometimes I work for them. I mean, it's kind of rare, but I did they're called Entertainment Max. They're really nice people, actually. They booked me in Pechanga Casino, which is a great place to work, and I featured over there. And they have this competition called the AV Lancaster Comedy Festival in Lancaster. So I submitted to it. I was like, all right, I'm going to pay my $40 whatever fee. And I didn't get in initially. And I was kind of disappointed. And I was like, I work for you guys. I'm like one of your comedians. And I actually wrote them an email. I said, this is disappointing. And they said, well, we have so many headliners, blah, blah. It's like, okay. So then like 3 weeks ago, they were like, hey, we had a dropout. We accepted 40 people, and the 40th person, whatever, dropped out, and you were number 41 on the list. Do you want to do the competition? I said, absolutely. Sign me up. Tarun is in, or Bobby Khan is in. So I was like, what do I have to do? They were like, well, it's basically 3 rounds. You have to do a first show. If you get past that first show, you go to a second show. If you get past that second show, you go to a third show, and you can't repeat material. I'm like, great. What do I do? And they said, well, show up at I should show up at 2:00 on Sunday. Your show's at 2:00, but you have to get like your lanyard, which is like your name pass. And so you have to get that at 12 before 12. It's like, really? I got to drive to Lancaster before 12? Whatever. I guess they had some Q&A panel, like industry people. So yesterday I went to Lancaster. I drove to Lancaster at 11 o'clock. I got my name tag, and then I sat through the panel, and the panel was, a club booker. It was like an agent from APA, and I'm forgetting the guy's name, Barry Neal, who's a really nice guy. He's the guy that runs the booking company, and he's a comedian too. And some guy who books Princess Cruises. And the panel was fine. It was just comedians asking questions. And oh yeah, also on the panel was a college agent, and these are the judges for the comedy competition, I think. Except for Barry, these are the judges, I think. And the college agent was actually my agent. Is my agent still, but so it was interesting. So I sat through this excruciating panel it's only excruciating because comedians ask like these lamest questions. Like one comic kept asking questions about, I think he made like a video about where he used like the F word and he sort of defend himself. And he's like, hey, is this clean if I can use the F word? It's just ridiculous. But, these people have a lot of patience and, again, nothing bad. I'm not saying anything bad about the AV Comedy Festival. They did a great job putting it together, and I thought the panel thing was insightful. I'll say that. So anyways, so that finishes, and I do the competition, and it's like 10 guys, right? Some girls too. And it's in this theater that seats 750 people, and there's like 25 people, right? So you can imagine how many like empty seats there are in this whole thing. So, and I'm like number 6, and the comedians are, in this back room. I'm just like this, detach myself, which is how I normally am. I try to just surrender and not think. And my friend John Huck is there. And John Huck is an amazing comedian. He's in Bobby Khan. He actually played Andy. He's a great actor. For the life of me, I have so many friends who should be famous, and he's one of them. I cannot comprehend this. So he's in my lineup. He's in my group. And so we all perform, and I decided to just front load my act. I'm gonna do my best material first, because who knows? I might not even advance. So I'm just gonna go out there and try to crush. And they actually interview you. They have some guy with a camera, and they interview you, and they're taping everything, even that Q&A panel. I guess they're making a package, like a promo package, and they interview you before you walk on stage, which is kind of in your head a little bit, but that's fine. And then they interview after when you get off stage. I'm just in character, and I'm just positive about everything as Bobby Khan. I'm like, oh, okay, great. Everyone's great here. So I go up. I have a reasonably good set. I think I got like an applause break at one point. 6th. I'm really happy with it. And that's it. And they interviewed me. And at the end of it, when everyone finishes, they interviewed or they announced the 3 people who moved on, and I was not one of the 3, which is okay. It's fine. I mean, it was disappointing in the sense. It was disappointing in the sense of I felt like I had a really good set, and I've been working really hard, and that combined with the NBC thing that I did a couple last month, I was like, I know I had a good set here, and I had a really strong set. In fact, one of my friends who watched it, he was like, dude, you were definitely in the top 3. But I was like, it's okay, you know what? Because I feel like the Bobby Khan character doesn't resonate with industry types. I feel like maybe they think it's too. I don't know. Maybe I'm creating a story here, but I know for a fact one of the judges is my college agent, and he did not like Bobby Khan when I sent it to him 6 months ago. I was like, hey, dude, I'm doing this thing now. He's like, I don't like this. And I was like, yo, you don't like it because you know who I am, but people actually like it, like, you know. So, anyways, that's not my point's not to nail people here. I'm just saying my point is dealing with rejection is something which is part of the game. You have to really take these hits and continue to lean into it. So I left. There was no reason for me to stay for the next 5 hours and watch the rest of these panels or the rest of the shows. And there was a comedian there. God, it was kind of irritating because as soon as he got off stage, he kept saying how he bombed, and then he advanced, and then, man, it just. I think the hardest thing for me about comedy is dealing with comedians. They will drive you insane. And I was like, am I like that? I hope to God I'm not like that. Maybe I am, and I'm just not seeing it. I mean, I'm talking on my bed into a cell phone right now, so maybe I am self-absorbed. But I felt like it was a great experience in general. And for me, I left there, I was like, okay, you know what? The industry will probably not rally behind this character, right? Bobby Khan. I mean, I've seen it with a movie, I'm seeing it now. And I was like, well, if I can make this pop, it's got to be in my own volition. It's got to be my own actions. It's got to be me building a fan base, with people, like killing every show, which is what I'm doing. And then being asked to come back in the headline, which is what I'm doing. And creating content, which is I'm doing that. The series I'm doing is called Brothers. It's on Instagram. You can check it out. It's my Instagram, Tarun Shetty. It's where I play Bobby Khan, play Tony Patel. I play Tarun Shetty. We all live together. It's like this crazy sitcom. But so anyways, I kind of shut down yesterday, and I was like, okay, let's just process this. I need to lean into it, and I have to shake off any residue from that show, anything, because I think what happens when you get rejected, or when you have this expectation, again, I've said this before, I feel like depression and sadness comes from what you expect versus reality, and it's really easy with showbiz because you expect certain things, and when it doesn't happen, like if I expected to move on, right, and reality, I didn't even make it past the first round, and I could be like, well, everybody hates this character, I'm going to throw this in the garbage, screw it. That's a whole story I'm making up. In reality, I know every show I do really well, and it's really popular, and people are starting to ask me to come back and, be featured on their shows. Like, that's a good sign. And I was like, I got to focus on the positive. And I got to focus on what I can control. And that's really I think the trick of showbiz is keeping yourself sane. All this other stuff is really easy. Like, going to these competitions, going to shows, writing jokes. I mean, I'm sure it's the same thing with like acting and writing or whatever. Like, doing the things easy. Writing, directing, whatever. Maybe you're a fashion designer doing clothes. That's what you're inherently good at, so it comes naturally. It's how people perceive you and how you interpret what's happening. That's where people trip up, I think. And you start to second guess yourself. You start to question yourself. For instance, like this web series I'm doing right now, it's called Brothers. Again, I'm pitching it for the second time. I'm doing everything myself. I write it, produce it, direct it, edit it. I'm acting in 90% of it. I do cast someone. And it's not because first of all, the reason I'm acting in all of it, it's not because I'm like, oh, everyone's got to see my talent. It's just that I can't deal with actors. It's like casting so many parts, having to pay every single actor, which I do pay everybody in my things. It's just too much. And then having to rely on coordinate schedules, it's just way too much. And I was like, well, if I can do everything myself, then I can be consistent with it and I can do it whenever I want and cut down on lag time. My point to this is I got to this point simply by creating so many other things in the past, right? I think I made Bobby Khan, No Money Down, which is a TV pilot. I made 4 or 5 web series, including Days COC. I've made, seriously, hundreds of videos. Hundreds. It's not even including all the stuff I did for Showbiz India, G4 Television, the spec commercials that I did over the years. Like, I've done hundreds of videos. Like, I'm a finely tuned machine on how to make stuff. And I could have easily stopped after Bobby Khan. I could have easily stopped after Days COC. But you have to have the willpower to keep moving forward. And I'm not some resilient machine. I'm telling you, some days I wake up and I just cry. I'm not even joking. Like, I'm like, man, I have messed up my life. And I've gone down a horrible path and I have blown every opportunity. I mean, my parents are well off. They're very well off. And I feel like sometimes I've blown every opportunity I've been given. But the way I counter that is I'm not done. And I have a lot more to give and I fight. I fight every single day. And I'll continue to fight as much as I can with Bobby Khan, with his character. I'll just try to, I got a show tonight. So I'll do that. I'll do this comedy show. Got some more shows next week. I'll do another episode of Brothers. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm talking out loud here. But I guess my point to you is I don't know what the answer is, but I know what the answer is not, and that's quitting. So there you have it, guys. AV Comedy Festival. Have a great week. Bye.